Hey guys, it's me. Just wanted to check in with you guys, give you a quick update. I know it's been 3 years since we've seen each other, and thought I'd come out and show you the car. Maybe we'll take a little drive. So here's the car. You guys remember? This is the car here. It's been a while since we said hi, and yeah, this is my neighbor's house. I wish I had that many garages. That's pretty awesome. I'm a little bit. I just got the 3 cars. So, yeah, let's take a little drive, and I'll fill you in on all the stuff that's been happening. All right, guys. Let me climb in the back seat with you as we take a drive to one of my favorite spots. I don't think anyone on this channel is going to fit in the back seat of this car, but I thought I would, instead of listening to the sounds of the engine this time, I thought I'd do a quick FAQs. There's been a lot of comments on the videos, and I tried to answer a lot of them, but I think it's fair to take a moment. This is probably going to be more of a podcast. Bring up all the FAQs, or at least the majority, and answer the questions that I get sort of a lot. One, I'll do a quick recap. What the heck did all these videos show? Well, I started out with a bore-scored engine that I bought from the dealer. I found that out just a couple of days outside the return period, so the dealer did not offer to really help at all. So I decided to fix it myself, and rather than pass it along, I chose to take on this task. As much as I want to sort of lay all these problems at the feet of the dealer, I really, at the end of this, enjoyed the experience. So I guess I can't be too terribly angry. It did bring me a lot of joy, a lot of nervousness, even a lot of excitement. At the end of this, bottom line, I really enjoyed it, and I'm still today, 3 years after the rebuild, I'm still enjoying the car today. So what I did was I did a lot of research, and if you're looking to do this yourself, you are going to have to sit down and do a lot of research. If that's not something that interests you, there are plenty of rebuilders out there that will take you through a lot of the steps that you saw, part of the way or all the way, depending on your budget. I decided to go a little bigger on the bore, so this was a 911 Carrera S model, which has, if I remember correctly, it's a 3.8 liter original, and I believe it's about 350 horsepower on the engine. I don't know if that's wheel. I don't think that's wheel. I think that's just straight engine power. I went a little bigger because I could, and why not? Some extras, like I put on a Fab Speed exhaust, and I even put on different rims and things like that, because putting fun things on your car is fun. So that's a little bit of the recap of where, what happened, why I got here. I'll also say a special thanks to all the folks who sat down and watched these videos. I don't know if I could watch my videos all the way through, but you guys were cheering me on the entire time, from not only the United States, but a lot of people checking in from across the sea in the UK and the Netherlands, and I've seen France, and I've been in Australia, I've seen Canada. Thanks everybody for cheering me on. It really did keep me going. I don't know if I would have dropped it, but it helped keep me going, at least making the videos for you guys, because I will tell you, half the time was building the engine, the other half was mucking around in the editing software to get this at least presentable for you guys to watch. I included some parts that were entertaining, I hope, but also I hope this is educational, and I hope these FAQs actually answer a lot of questions that you have. So thanks, everybody. I'll also mention I haven't taken this to the dyno yet. Ask if you guys are interested in seeing the me taking this car to the dyno and seeing what sort of numbers it puts up. I will gladly put up that video. The only thing I ask in return, I think the most likes I got on one of the videos is 400. So if we can get to 200, I will definitely take this over to the dyno and show you the numbers. So with that, the first question. Okay, so the first question is, what the heck, man? Where have you been? Why did it take you so long? So let me start by saying, the episode you just watched where I was driving the car after I finished it, yeah, it's close to 3 years old. A lot of personal life issues came into the play. I was really just making these videos for fun and for you guys to see and for anybody who gets stuck in this position. But to finish off the videos, I had sort of a picture in my mind of what I wanted to do, and it kept getting changed and morphing. And eventually what happened was I moved from Connecticut down to Florida. My mom passed, and I changed jobs with a much more demanding work schedule. And that really did take away a lot of free time to be able to get out the quality content, focus on that. Please accept my apologies for taking so long to get all this information back out to you. But I've seen a lot of comments, and honestly, over the 3 years, I thought this channel would just sort of die, but you guys kept writing in. You kept saying, I want an update, and that really pushed me to finish up these videos for you guys. So thanks for hanging in there. What have I been up to? Well, the car is still running great. I do actually have some extra footage of some trouble I ran into after I finished the car. Nothing bad. I found out somebody had put the wrong coolant into the car at one point, and that surfaced back up. That was a very strange. I never encountered that before when working on engines. I might surface that and a couple of other things that I did to the car. Just personally, I moved down to Florida and have been enjoying the crap out of Florida. It's fantastic down here for those that. It's warm. I'm down on the very southern tip. I'm actually I do cars and coffee every once in a while. I don't know if any listener or watchers are down in Naples, but I do the 239 Cars and Coffee every once in a while. So if you are in the area, or if you end up visiting Naples, drop me a line and we can go hang out in Cars and Coffee. It'd be great to say hi to one of the fans. That would be pretty awesome. All right. Next question. How much was the rebuild? Now, this is a common question, and I'm just going to get it off the plate. I'm going to share with you guys the rebuild costs that I have directly. They probably don't include every cost, but I tried to do a good job of putting the actual costs up there so that, if you're going to take the leap, or really, I think a lot of people are sort of deciding, do I sell the car? Do I have a new engine put in? Do I do it myself? For those do-it-yourselfers out there who want real answers to these real questions, boom, here's the cost breakdown for everybody to kind of take a look at. So I did, as part of this rebuild, put a new clutch in. Just made sense to me since the engine was apart. So about $1,700. Like you end up spending a lot of money on bolts. Way more on bolts than I had ever spent on an engine rebuild in my life. But every manual, every review, every expert guide out there, Jay Graby, 997 rebuilds, stuff like that. Everybody talks about, all this bolt fatigue and stuff like that kind of scares the crap out of you. So you end up spending probably $500 or $600 on just bolts. I will say, if you're planning on rebuilding a Porsche or a BMW or any one of these high-end cars, you gotta be expected to pay a tax, there's gonna be a tax for rebuilding this engine. And I knew that, and I did it anyway. I knew the costs going into it, so I wasn't blind. And here are the costs for you, so you're not blind either. So obviously the big expense was the actual machining of the engine and getting bore score officially fixed. So there's two options here. One option is to go with steel cylinders, and the other option is to go with Nickel cylinders, or Ellen Engineering calls them Nickies. Those, from what I read, are the best for an aluminum engine. Porsches are built on aluminum, the core block. And from what I read, the steel cylinders, while probably half the cost, aren't necessarily the best. That's totally a personal call and just a personal research decision. It is a lot of money extra to go for nickel cylinders, but I wanted to be done with rebuilding this engine. Once I did it once, if I did it correctly, I wanted to be done, and that's the reason I paid the extra money. So the Nickies, I believe, was about 6,000, something like that. But then you also have to buy the pistons. You have to buy the bearings, the head bolts, at least I bought the head bolts. You didn't have to buy the ARP bolts, but I did. The rest of that is sort of like bits and pieces that came up along the way. I thought my starter was bad at some point because it actually turned out to be that there was heat fatigue on the main cable going from the starter to the battery. That ended up being the real cause, but I put in a new starter thinking that was the issue. And then took the whole thing to the rest of the parts to the machine shop and had the heads and the crankshaft sort of resurfaced and cleaned up. So the total is there. That total is not for everybody doing an engine rebuild. Rebuilding a Ford, a Ford 4-cylinder, 6-cylinder, you're probably looking at maybe a third of this price to do, buy the kit and do a rebuild and even have it machined, totally reboard and everything like that. So yeah, that's. But this, I hope, should help make the decision between, do I want to do this myself, or do I want to go buy a finished engine and swap that in? Honestly, if you look at the cost here and you look at the cost of a finished engine that is rebuilt correctly and you feel confident about that, and you don't want to take all the twists and turns that I just did, I think that's probably totally the way to go. It's probably around 20 to 25 for a totally, rebuilt engine. And once you figure in all your labor and all the extra pieces and parts that go into this, it's really not that much of a difference that you end up saving by doing it yourself. I knew that. I wanted to take the adventure, do it myself, and enjoy that time. And there is something to be said about personally doing it yourself and driving around the result of the rebuild. I would say that's a heck of a lot more satisfying. Next question: how long did it take from start to finish? Most of the time was waiting, because you actually have to ship the entire block in a box over to I forget where the machine shop is. I think and this was during COVID, so sometimes things took a lot longer, but took about 3 months to actually get, maybe 3 or 4 months to actually have the block sent out and machined and put the nickeys in and have it sent back. So the majority of time was waiting or ordering parts or studying the part manual to figure out where those parts go. There's a lot of little tiny parts in there. And I will tell you, the rebuild manual that comes from Porsche is not great. It's just not great. The Haynes manual and stuff like that, Chilton's, those are way, way better at rebuild manuals. I think Porsche does that on purpose, so people aren't inclined to go start tearing apart their engine. I don't know. Even just finding the rebuild manual is a little bit difficult. Next question, now that you're finished, would you do it again? Yeah, I would. I had a blast doing it. And at the time it was COVID, there was nothing else to do. Would I do it now, in present day? Maybe when I retire. I do enjoy the engine building process, and I did, in terms of the challenge, this was definitely a challenge. And if you're bored, this is definitely really challenge yourself if you want to take it to the next level. So to answer the question, at the time, yeah, if I went back in time and did it, yes, I would do this again. If I went back in time and thought, could I return this car and go with another car and not rebuild it, I think even then I would still do it. Even then, I would still take the engine and rebuild it. I really enjoy the car. I love it. It's such a fun car. I think it looks great, my personal taste. And yeah, I had a blast. What would you recommend to other folks facing the same challenge or thinking that it's going to happen? I've seen a lot of debate as to whether bore score is something that you can prevent. I don't want to dash anybody's hope, but in the research that I did, and I really researched this quite a bit, every angle, every millimeter, every part I studied, I didn't see anything that really convinced me that there was any way to stop this, or that you did something wrong if it happened to you. I just haven't seen any evidence of that. In the 997, they did fix the IMS issue, at least on the car that I have, so that wasn't an issue for me. It had the bigger bearing. I did not replace the IMS. I just didn't find a lot of credible data that said the bigger IMS fails a lot. I have quite a few miles on the engine now. Knock on simulated wood grain. The bigger IMS seems to be okay. So the recommendation for the folks that are worried is, well, there's really nothing you can do. So you can take that the wrong way and say, well, I should worry a lot then. Or you could take it the right way, which is the way I mean it, which is enjoy your car, because if you're driving around nervously, then it's really not it's just gonna be a headache for you rather than something that you enjoy. If you have it now, if you're facing bore score now, unless you're pretty good at rebuilding engines or you've done it before or somebody's helped you, I do not recommend starting off with a horizontal 6 rebuild. It will not go well. First of all, it's a very expensive engine to rebuild, so you have to decide of the value of the car, and I think car values have gone up quite a bit since COVID, so I don't know exactly how much the 997s go for right now. But the cost of a new engine and having somebody put it in is probably right around $30,000. Personally, I'd probably reinvest that and take that $30K and put it into a newer car. Sorry to say that, just me personally, unless I'm going to rebuild the engine or I'm going to enjoy it, or it's something that's sort of very personally to me, the financials just do not make sense to go down this path. Maybe car values have increased quite a bit, but I could see rebuilding a different type of car where you could make out on the other end of it especially a turbo. Turbos really, really hold their value compared to the naturally aspirated engines. And it also is a little more rewarding if your horsepower is something that you're after. Horsepower was not something I thought this car was lacking in any way. I went a little bigger, but I wasn't after a gigantic increase in horsepower. Long story short, I would, for those of you who aren't really great with engines, but you still want to try your hand at replacing it, I would just simply go get a replacement motor from one of the reputable engine rebuild places out there. That's probably going to be your best bet, both for longevity, power increase, stability. If you want to keep this car for a long, long time, just bite the bullet and grab one of those rebuild engines. If you're planning on building the engine yourself like I just did, get your hand on as much material as you can. The internet is filled, but I made this video so that you could see all the pain that I went through, or all the interesting things that I went through in going through this rebuild, the highs and the lows and the joys. I did want to make sure that you guys saw all of that so you can make the right decision. I don't think those of you facing this problem should necessarily walk away from the car. I'm only saying that because I'm only saying financially it may not make the most sense. But most people do not go into buying a sports car or something like that because they're thinking with their wallet and financial sense. They're thinking it's going to be fun, and it was fun. So I think you have to consider that part of it as much as the financial part. Next question, does the engine have more power? I don't know. It did feel like it has more power. Was it 100 more horsepower? I don't think so. I don't think it was 100 more horsepower. If I had to guess, it's between 25 and 50 more horsepower. That would be my guess. Not a horsepower expert. And I haven't seen any dyno results personally. Maybe somebody can drop that in the responses here. But I haven't seen any dyno results personally that compared a 4.0 build for this particular car and showed the numbers. I haven't done any of the extra, stage 1, stage 2, stage 4. I'm really not a horsepower hound. The car goes really, really fast. And I don't need it necessarily going even faster or anything like that. I would, however, take it to the dyno and put a tune on it, because I feel as if the power at the low end, the RPMs is really, I think the way, going off on a tangent, I think the way that Porsche built their dynamic cams and stuff like that was to make sure that their engine passes emissions, rather than actually adding extra horsepower. So I noticed when the car gets past 3,000 RPMs, the engine comes alive, right? But under 3,000 RPMs, when you're trying to kind of kick it off the line at the light, it's really low on horsepower, and I think that was done intentionally to get it to pass emissions here in the U.S. So personally, I would take it to, if I did take it to a dyno, I'd throw a tune on it to see if that low end of the power band could be resolved by actuating the cams and using the higher lobes at lower RPM. I don't know, I'm just speculating on that. I think that's the reason why it's sort of has a low horsepower off the line. Like I said, if you guys drop a like in there, I will film the dyno tune and corresponding results if you want to see that on the other end. I also didn't add any additional, I think one of the other items for tuning it would be to throw in a different intake onto it, stuff like that. I will say that I mistakenly ordered the wrong injectors, thinking, well, it'll be fine. The stock injectors are perfectly fine for the 0.2 liter increase. So don't fret about that. If you are looking for more power, if I was going to do this again and I was chasing after those dyno numbers, I definitely would have thrown turbos on it. That's absolutely the way to go. If you want an engine that's going to perform at the level above stock, I might be able to get a little bit above, but not very much, probably. Naturally aspirated engines just have a upper limit. I've seen a lot of videos where people try and test the upper limits, but ultimately turbos are the way to go if you're going to try for more power. I thought, to me personally, just rebuilding the engine and getting it to work was complicated enough. Those folks that go out and do turbo applications and throw them on, I have a great deal of respect for users. That is a limit on my knowledge. I do not know how to get turbos to run applying them here. It would be cool to find out if there's any 997 turbo converts out there. I'd be interested. Next question. Are you planning on continuing? What's next? What are you gonna do after this? I will hold firm on my commitment to go to the dyno and show you guys the numbers. Unless I take on another project car, I don't know how much else I can add to the 997 chats other than maybe continuing to field questions or just drive around and maybe that's fun. Let me know your ideas if you want me to continue or show you more things that I did. I'm game. I don't want to let you guys down. I think the final question, I touched on a little bit earlier, but the final question is, you went and did all this work, you put in hours and hours and hours, months of work into pulling the engine, getting it fixed, putting it back together. You've been driving it for 3 years now, and really no issues in those 3 years. Car's running great. But now that it's all done, I think the final question at the end of all this, and really the reason for all this work and even expense, is how do you feel? The answer is summed up with this Tracy Bonham song. And with that, I will leave you guys and drop any additional questions in the chat. Thanks, guys.